right. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
And yay! And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. It's the only time of the week I know what day and time it is. It's 4 p.m. Central, and we're here with the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo.
I'm Anthony Ihrig.
And today we have the Wild Ponies joining us. Doug and Telisha Williams from Nashville. Howdy, guys.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be here.
It's great to see your faces. I think the last time I saw them may have been in New Orleans in January.
I think so.
I think
That had to be it.
Yeah.
That's the last time I saw a lot of my best friends' faces.
That's true.
We all met in New Orleans and we left and we haven't seen anybody since.
I know. I think about it now and it's like a COVID nightmare. You know, it's like 3,000 folkies crammed into like 10 hotel rooms.
Yeah.
But we're so happy to have you here today. And I'm so excited to hear what you guys are drinking today because you made something special for us.
We made, this has sort of become a signature cocktail for us. It is a whiskey sour that we make with Dad's Hat Pennsylvania rye whiskey.
Oh, I love that whiskey.
Juice.
Yeah.
There's an egg white in here.
We almost always
syrup.
make them on Sundays. Our housemate Laura makes a killer eggs Benedict on Sunday morning. And she uses the yolk, and then you've got the whites left over. So what are you going to do other than make whiskey sours later in the day? Right?
I love it.
Quarantine life is what it is. You know, we're making it through with our eggs Benedict and whiskey sours.
Exactly.
Well, cheers to that, you guys.
Well, and I have to say, you were nice enough, Telisha, to send me your recipe ahead of time. So I made one myself.
All right. That looks delish.
I actually had to buy some bourbon. Believe it or not, I have like 4 other kinds of whiskey, but no bourbon in the house. So I didn't have time to get Dad's Hat, which I love. Lou's fine bourbon. But it's just Jim Beam because, you know, Tennessee, right? You know,
Tennessee, there you go.
Good choice.
All kinds of ways to go.
Well, I went up to Kalamazoo this week for a special double cream stout from Bell's, one of my favorite breweries.
That is a great brewery.
And it's so great to see all of you out there joining us as well. I see Alan is here with his G&T.
I am down with the G&T, and I agree that we're still on the edges of G&T season.
Totally.
It's second summer here in Minnesota. It's like 80 degrees today. What's the weather like in Nashville today?
We've got a hurricane rolling in
On the way.
from the Gulf. So we're just getting, I think it's going to be a while before it gets here, but it's already kind of dark and cloudy and drizzly. It's nice. It's drizzly out. Yeah, it's damp, but still warm.
Well, we got another G&T, Chris, who is out on the deck in Minnesota. It is really beautiful here in Minnesota, and we have Ellen's folks in Connecticut joining us today. Great to see you guys here.
guys.
Thank you. And Joe's got a vodka tonic. Civilized.
Here's something funny. I'll tell you, the gin and tonics and the vodka tonics, we have a little recipe board on our refrigerator, and it's got all these complicated recipes for different mixed drinks. We've got the original daiquiri, which is a great recipe.
The
classic daiquiri, Cuban version. This whiskey sour, a couple of other nice ones that Telisha and Laura, but they're really complicated cocktail recipes. And so I finally just added G&T, and I put my recipe for gin and tonic on there.
I love it.
Shot of gin, filled with tonic.
I love it. Well, I will have to send you guys. I'm not sure if I gave it to you, but I have the Mother Banjo, the Mojo cocktail recipe book with seasonal cocktail recipes, and there's a few whiskey ones in there. So I'm going to make sure to send them your way. And it looks like Andy is joining us from London. He says it's cold and dark in London. So we really have a global audience today. So, and then Andy asked, what was that beer again? That was a Bell's. I believe.
Yes, Andy. This is Bell's. It's a brewery, I guess Comstock, Michigan. I always thought Kalamazoo. And this is the special double cream stout. I think it's a seasonal variety they have out right
That's
now.
the best thing about this time of year, I think, in Minnesota for the craft breweries is that the leaves turn and you start getting some of the darker beers. They start making them, but yet it's warm outside. It's like the best of all possible worlds.
Right.
I had a nut brown a few days ago. Yeah,
nice.
It's getting there. We're heading in that direction.
Well, we are so happy to have you guys join us today for this episode of the Back Catalog Listening Party. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while, and I'm glad it worked out. So we're going to revisit your 2013 release, Things That Used to Shine, and this, I believe, is your first album as the Wild Ponies.
Yeah.
But for folks who might not know you or your music, again, you originally, well, your names are Doug and Telisha Williams, and you recorded under those names. Maybe you can give us a brief bio of what kind of led to forming the Wild Ponies and making this record.
We made the record in Nashville. We had a big Nashville friend of ours, who's become a friend actually. Ray Kennedy produced the record, who's produced a bunch of Lucinda stuff and Steve Earle stuff. And it felt like it was just a good time to kind of shift things a little bit from the more folky sound that we had been playing as Doug and Telisha. And we felt like this record was a departure from what we had been doing. And it was a good time to kind of make the shift name-wise. Mm-hmm. I have a cat joining us. This is
yeah.
Up in my lap.
This is the second week in a row.
Radio show. Freed gets in my lap for the entire recording.
I love it. Well, this is the second week in a row we've had, I think, a pet, right? Last week we had a dog joining us.
Yeah,
we might have that too. We might have other cats. We have a little zoo here.
This is the one thing that you part of streaming that you just can't control. How the cats and dogs.
Kids walking in the back, and
yeah, exactly.
I just muted my microphone because my kids were screaming downstairs.
I think does that answer your question, Ellen? That was kind of the thing. It was just a time to do something different, and we felt like we needed a band name that kind of described. I mean, we still play as a duo sometimes as Wild Ponies. Me and Telisha just go out by ourselves, and we're still called Wild Ponies, and we tour with the 4-piece or a 3-piece. And we love that.
And before you kind of made the shift to Wild Ponies, though, you put out several records under Doug and Telisha, and were pretty actively touring. And just so everyone all knows, you do share a name, and you are married. So tell us how you first, started making music together.
We started playing music together when we were in high school. We were both raised in a small southwestern Virginia town called Martinsville, right in between Roanoke, Virginia, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And we were in high school together there, and we played in a rock and roll cover band, like sort of my 10th grade year, your senior year.
Yeah.
And we played like all of the birthday parties and homecoming dances and all of that stuff. And then we just continued to play music together and started writing, and we're obviously not playing rock and roll cover music.
Sometimes we do.
Yeah. But
we have a side project that's only had, I think, 2 gigs ever unintentionally at that, called the Draft Horses, where we play only classic country covers, and maybe we'll throw some rock and roll covers into that too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, excellent. Well, we're really excited to revisit this album, which I believe is all originals on this record.
I think so.
I'm trying to think.
I'm going through it and thinking. I think so. Yeah, I think it is.
And actually, okay, so this is great because this also shows that it's not just the two of you. You had a third Wild Pony in the band at this time. And I know you've had sort of rotating horses cycle through the stables, if you will, but tell us who this gentleman is.
That handsome ginger right there is Jake Weinbrunner. He used to live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He has since moved on to Florida, but we're still in touch. We're still really close buddies.
He's a brother for sure. He's still a pony, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he played drums, right?
He played drums. And actually, there were a very few special shows that this probably only happened a handful of times.
Like 10 times.
At the very end of the night, sort of for the multiple encore situation, Jake and I would switch, and he would play the upright bass, and I would play the drums on,
nice.
At least one
song or two. It was pretty fun.
That's
He's
awesome.
a better bass player than I am a drummer.
It's the end of the night, nobody cares.
After you've had all those whiskey sours, it's fine. So again, Telisha, you play bass. Doug, you play guitar. You both sing, and let's dig into the music. We have the first song queued up. Is the title track, "Things That Used to Shine." Is there anything you want to say about it to set it up, or you just want to chat after?
I feel like to set this song up, I consider this song a tour of our living room.
Sort of, yeah. Our hearts and living rooms open for you.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Come in and walk around.
All right, well, let's take a tour of the Wild Ponies living room. Things That Used to Shine on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
polished smooth by the grains of time, old and used and past their prime. I like things that used to shine. Love letters in the drawer of a flea market find, a laid-away ring 2 months behind, a grandfather clock with a mournful chime. I like things that used to shine. Shine, shine. I like things that used to shine. A scratchy old record that still goes around on an old turntable makes a beautiful sound. A proud father's eyes when he starts to cry. I like things that used to shine. The way that Hazel Dickens sings, too long and changed guitar strings, a candle holder from a bottle of wine. I like things that used to shine. Shine, shine. I like things that used to shine. A roughed up penny from the year I was born, old leather boots all scuffed and worn, an old pocket watch that still keeps time. I like things that used to shine. Sparkle in your eyes when you were mine. I can't turn back the hands of time. I like things that used to shine. Shine, shine. I like things that used to shine. Shine.
All right. That was the Wild Ponies with Things That Used to Shine, the title track to their 2013 release, which we are revisiting today on the Back Catalog Listening Party. And Andy asks, and this was going to be one of my questions, who is the fiddle player happening?
That is Casey Dreesen.
Oh, yeah, Casey.
Yeah. Oh, no slouch there.
He's got some Minnesota connections, so we appreciate that. Yeah, he spent some time here, so.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
So great. And he came in, we actually originally that was definitely one of the tunes that we had pegged him for at the beginning. But he came in, we had him thinking he was going to be on 3 or 4 songs, and we just couldn't let him.
Yeah, everything you played, we're like, okay, can you stick around for one more? Because it just became clear that like his sound was a part of the band and a part of the record, and it was just kind of blending into the record in such a cool way. And the way he played off of what Russ Paul was playing and everything on the pedal steel stuff was great. And
Love Connie's comment there. Could be your theme song. Have it.
You're not alone, Connie.
And
oh my gosh. So Joe made a comment, which so sweet. Sweet is a John Prine song. Mm-hmm. That is very kind, Joe. Thank you. We had a magnificent moment with John Prine and this record, right as it was coming out.
No, well before. It was well before it came out.
Yeah, it was well before it came out. You're right. Yeah. It was done. We were done recording it, but
we were down at South by in Austin, and Ray Kennedy, who was the producer, texted. He's like, "Hey, John was in the studio today, and he heard one of those songs, and he wanted to know if he could hear the rest of the record. Is that okay with you?" John Prine. And I was like, "Hell yeah!" whole thing. And so he loved the songs. And Ray was like, he wants to hear you guys play live. When is the next time you're playing in Nashville? And I was like, we're not, man. We're not playing in Nashville for a long time. So I called our buddy Terry Rickards, who at the time was booking Mad Donna's, and he's booked every venue in town. He's a great guy. And I called Terry and I was like, listen, Terry, we need the room. Like, we need to play a local show in Nashville. This is really important. What have you got over the next like week or so? So he gave us the time, and like we called all of our friends, and we were like, I'm not going to tell you why. Trust me. Show up to this show.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really a special time.
And he showed up at the show.
Oh yeah. He came and
He
sat
was
right in
so
the front row. And
kind.
we heard him laugh in between songs at the appropriate times. And we hung out with him after the show, and he was really sweet. And I'm not going to say we got to be good friends. I wish we had, but we got to be we recognized each other and we knew each other enough. And that was enough for me. That was enough to feel like we made it. He offered us to come out and open some shows. And so we were kind of working all that out right when Al Bonetta passed away, his manager. And
when he had another battle.
And he had another battle with cancer.
Yeah.
And we never picked the thread back up, unfortunately.
How special, though.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it's funny you say that because I think so. I studied in Nashville for like a semester at Fisk University, and I used to hang out at the station inn all the time with the old station inn, before it got all gussied up, that neighborhood. And I would go all the time. And one time, I think it was Robin and Linda Williams were playing, maybe, but John was just in the audience, and I was like, this is Nashville. Like, I couldn't believe that this stuff really happened, that people like really John Prine would just walk in, and sure enough, it was like, and then he came up and sang a song, and it was like, it kind of blew my young mind at the time.
It really is Nashville. We were talking about that last night with somebody else, and how celebrities it's a little different here than LA or New York, where there are a lot of celebrities. Nashville's a small town with a lot of celebrities, and you can't go to a guitar store without running into Vince Gill. It's not, you just can't do it.
He spends all of his time.
He just goes from guitar store to guitar store all day long.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and John Prine's birthday would have been this Saturday. He obviously, most folks know he passed away in April due to complications of COVID, but it would have been his 74th birthday. And actually tomorrow, that's what I'll be doing our annual John Prine tribute. So to celebrate his birthday. But I do agree. That is a beautiful compliment. And I can totally see why Joe said that, because it does have that feeling of sort of, one thing that John Prine did so well, and you did so well in that song, is sort of elevating these mundane moments and objects that are in our lives, and like assigning a bigger meaning to them. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that John was able to do, and that you did in that song.
That's really
Yeah.
sweet.
So tell us also, I noticed on your cover, things that used to shine. You have a nice sort of, like, I don't know, warehousey thing behind you, which I think was very apropos for this record. Was this photographed in Nashville?
It was actually, we just rode by this spot a couple of days ago on our motorcycles, but that shot is in Chattanooga, right off the highway, right off 24. And it's an old, huge, do you remember what was made in that warehouse?
I have no idea what was made in that warehouse.
It's huge. It's a tremendous warehouse. And that photographer was actually a friend of ours from high school that we reconnected with. He's just an amazing photographer. His name's Justin Hall. Yeah. And we met in Chattanooga to do that shoot. And
it's beautiful. And I also love that you guys are wearing, you used to, when you toured as Doug and Telisha, I believe you like always wore, like Doug, you always wore a suit, and Telisha, you are always, wearing a nice classic kind of dress, gussied up. And I feel like this might be your statement, like, yeah, we're not Doug and Telisha anymore. We're the Wild Ponies.
I gotta live up to the name.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. Andy said he sat across from Emmy Lou at the station inn once. So you never know who you're going to run into.
I met Sam Bush at the station inn.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the thing. I mean, it's just, that's how this town is. And the other cool thing about it is people don't bother the celebrities for the most part. A tourist might, wave and take a picture, but even tourists kind of take the vibe of the locals and just leave everybody alone for the most part. And watch the show, have a good time. It's cool.
Yeah. And this next song we have, Massey's Run. I want to make sure we we could gab about Nashville all day probably. But so this next song, Massey's Run, tell us a little bit about this tune.
Doug
switch
I
hats.
just got a new hat that I love. This is my Bubba Wallace hat. I don't know if you can see it. It's Richard Petty's number 43. The guy that's running the 43 car right now in NASCAR. This have you ever had a NASCAR on the show before?
No, we have not.
This is a first.
Yes. So the guy that's running the 43 is one of the only African American drivers.
Yes.
I think he's the only current one and only the second one ever. And this past year at the Martinsville Speedway this spring, he ran his car with the Black Lives Matter logo on it and this amazing compassion, love, and understanding graphic on the front.
Oh, nice.
So cool. And he hasn't won races. He's not doing that great. However, I'm incredibly proud of NASCAR. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I haven't been a NASCAR fan. I am now. But me and Telisha, we're from Martinsville, Virginia, where this race happened and where the song Massey's Run is about. It's a true story about a guy who was racing in the late 50s and into the early 60s. And his name was Jimmy Massey. And he was born in Mebane, North Carolina in 1933. And this is kind of, I should let it go at that. This is the story of that song and him battling the 43 car that day. He was battling against the 43, trying to win the race. A young Richard Petty was in the 43 car. Richard had only won one race in his entire career at that point. And his dad was a really famous race car driver back in 1960. And people were writing articles in the paper about whether or not young Richard was ever going to amount to anything in the sport or not.
We know how that turned out.
I love this. I just got this hat a couple of weeks ago, and I just love it with the 43 and the Black Lives Matter and the great logo on the front and Petty Enterprises on the side.
That's awesome. Well, what a great story. All right, let's listen to the song that was inspired by the story. Massey's Run by the Wild Ponies on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
He's the one they always talk about, the name that's always thrown around. He's the best that's ever held a steering wheel. With a straw hat, feather cowboy crown, he's the king of going round and round. If you're out in front, he's dipping at your heels. And for all the races that he's won, all the tires he must have spun, it's no wonder folks still go on about him. But 26 laps in the spring of 1960, he was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. Well, I held him off through every turn. My tires were bald, my brakes were burned. I took everything old 21 could give. He was coming up the inside fast. I knew he was gonna try to pass, so I got down low and I kept him there behind me. Till the final time around turn 4, he finally got me door to door. That paper clip, it turned into a drag race. But 26 laps in the spring of 1960, he was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. Well, I drove it like a demon on that final death wish track. I know I almost had it till we crossed that checkered flag. He was behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. I crossed the line in second place the day Petty won his second race. Since then, he's won 198 more. I like to think I did pretty well. Raced him tight and gave him hell, but he probably don't think about me anymore. But sometimes at night I still dream, still hear those pistols scream, and I can still see that petty blue. And I'm crossing the line in the spring of 1960. He's behind me, right there in my mirror, that red, white, and blue STP. If it hadn't been for the number 43, I could have been the king. There were 26 laps in the spring of 1960.
All right.
Yeah.
Let that guitar ring out. That is the Wild Ponies with Massey's Run on their 2013 release, Things That Used to Shine. The Wild Ponies joining us today from Nashville on the back catalog listening party. And that shows more kind of your rock and roll side. You know, the first song we heard was more kind of that kind of country folk kind of vibe. And this is kind of, you know, more rock and some great electric guitar. Doug, is that you on acoustic and electric, or is that
No, I'm playing
you have
the
a second
acoustic.
guitar?
I'm playing the acoustic. The electric guitar there is Ann McHugh, who is one of our
Oh,
good buddies.
yeah. She's great.
Oh my gosh, she's one of my favorite guitar players in the world. And she kept playing these amazing things, and I would go, yes. You know, and Ray would go, no, Ann, I want you to play this like you're a 13-year-old boy and you just learned how to play guitar, and you're really trying to. And like she just, and finally she just nailed it, and it's perfect. I mean, it's just like the stuff she plays is so cool and so simple and powerful. It's like, rah! You know?
It adds a lot to the story, honestly. Like there's a lot of movement in her playing, and there's like these textures that kind of a change with the layers of the song. You know, I'm always listening to arrangements where things come down and come up, and that, you know, that guitar work really adds a lot to that
She's
song.
one of the best players in the world. She's absolutely one of my favorite players I'll ever play.
And a great songwriter, too.
And a great
So,
songwriter.
yeah.
Great songwriter, great singer. I love Ann so
Great
much.
producer.
Great producer. Yeah, she
Yeah.
produced that Scott Miller album that just came out about a year
Oh,
ago.
cool. Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, it's great. And I love Chris's comment. That's what I was raising the roof for. He says,
A
boy,
little
I could hear a
banjo."
little banjo in that. Tony and I wouldn't disagree. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's got that kind of gallop.
although I don't know, it sounded pretty good the way it was, I will say. I don't know if it needed it, but I agree. If you were going to do an acoustic version, I think that's what you'd have to do in place of that electric guitar. Is
I
just
mean,
have some
Banjo is
crazy
the
banjo.
Telecaster of the bluegrass world.
It is.
Amen.
For sure. And so tell us a little bit about your musical influences, because I know it's the question that every musician loves to be asked about. But you brought up Hazel Dickens in your first song.
Did.
You were talking about the in which you can definitely hear the echo of that. And on some of your other recordings, some of the more sort of folky ones definitely rings out. And then that was more the rock and roll. And you said you used to do rock and roll, like cover stuff. So, you know, what on the kind of rock end do you is like part of your regular listening?
I mean, it's honestly, I'm not embarrassed to say this. Jane's Addiction was a huge influence.
And you got to see Perry Farrell.
I did recently,
Years
like
ago at the
about a
City
year and a
Wi-
half ago.
at
At
the
City Winery.
Oh, really? Wow.
Winery tour. It was great.
Oh, cool.
I loved it. It was so good. Obviously, you can't play a musical instrument or sing in a band without being influenced by the greatest Americana band of all time, from Liverpool to the Beatles.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
That's where I first heard the harmony singing like that, you know, and I
Yeah.
traced it
Oh,
back.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait.
Totally. And they not ripped off, but they kind of, you know, took a lot of their harmony singing from like the Louvin Brothers and a lot of the sort of early country and, you know, post bluegrass, the Monroe Brothers, Bill Monroe, and all that. And they kind of took those harmony parts and kind of ran with them and turned them into rock and roll. And I don't know, it's cool to watch the stuff bounce back and forth. I could ramble all day about that, but yeah, those are my influences. Those, and obviously Willie Nelson. I've stolen every single lick I can steal from Willie Nelson.
I'm not sure any of the songs we are sharing today in the back catalog listening party really showcase your Willie Nelson tribute playing, but
Any of our slow stuff, whenever any slow song, I do like all these weird Willie Nelson chromatic runs in my solos.
Nice.
You could every time I listen to Stardust, I'm like, oh shit, that's where I stole that from.
Love it. during the quarantine, obviously you guys were a really busy touring band before the quarantine. I don't know, how many dates did you play a year? It seemed like a
All of
ton.
All of-
All of the days. No, I mean, we,
Like 100 and some, 150, 200.
yeah.
Depending on the year.
Yeah, between a release year and a non-release year, anywhere from 100 to 150, 200 shows out for 200 days a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at one point, you guys used to travel in an RV. I remember because it was parked outside my house once on one visit to Minnesota.
Nice.
And, but, obviously now you've settled down a little more in Nashville these days, which is good given the quarantine.
Yeah.
And you've been doing a lot to stay busy during the quarantine, I have to say. You've done, for a while, you're doing weekly live streams on bands in town with different guest artists. You've been taking those motorcycles out quite a bit. And
We're training to be instructors.
what was that?
We're training to be motorcycle safety instructors.
Really? That's awesome. That's so great. Well,
I
okay.
actually have to study after this, so I can only have one.
One cocktail. And also you host a radio show, which you've been doing for a long time, Whiskey Wednesdays. And tell us a little bit about that, if folks want to check it out.
We are so fortunate. I can hardly believe it every week when I get to say Whiskey Wednesday coming to you on WSM, because WSM is such a huge radio station, especially when we talk about our influence in music. So we have a radio show, Whiskey Wednesday with Wild Ponies, every Wednesday that airs on WSM's Route 650, which is their 24/7 Americana stream. And then once a month, first Wednesday of every month, the show also airs on the AM dial. And
Leading right into the Crandall office.
Nice. That's
it was sort of like a John Prine moment as far as like, pinch me. Am I really hosting a radio show on the AM dial of WSM? It's pretty great.
that is the station.
Yeah, for us it is. I still can't believe it. I mean, like every time we've been doing it for years now, and it's still amazing that we get to do it.
So what's your approach like for the the playlists and stuff?
Well,
Like
it's
what
so
would you
funny
expect?
because we used to do the show from wherever we were on the road. So the show would sometimes come to you from an airport or the back of a tour bus or a green room or whatever. So during the quarantine, the shows have all been coming to you from right here. And that's been a little bit different to build the playlists, to still find variety in the...
Did you guys ever listen to Vin Scelsa on WFUV? Okay,
Yeah.
Vin was kind of like our radio mentor. Like we wanted to do the Vin Scelsa show, but with us. Like,
Nice.
the
Nobody
way
can do it quite
his
like
sort of free form, anything can lead into anything. He can figure out a way to make it link together and work together. I remember one time we were listening to Vin, and he played a song, and
It was an
Elin Jewel song. And he got to the end of the Elin Jewel cover of Wanda Jackson, "Shaking All Over." He got to the end of it, and he goes, "Man, I love that. That was so great. I'm gonna play it again." And he did. You know,
So good.
I like it.
We have guests, friends that are releasing new music, or we used to on the road interview venue owners and waitresses, whoever along the road. So it's kind of a little hour of anything goes.
Yeah.
You have a great time with it.
And I have to say, the first time we connected, Telisha, was when you came on my radio show on Women Folk on KFAI, and you were so excited to be on the radio, and you've of course had done a bunch of interviews, but you're like, it's my dream to be a DJ.
you're right. I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, I can totally see it. And then one time you even came, instead of being a guest, we just kind of co-hosted the show. But I feel like a proud mama that, even though I have nothing to do with you getting the show, but I love that you like kind of set your intentions, and the universe brought it around for you.
I forgot about that moment, but
Well,
I remember it well now. I remember her saying it. We're looking at the red buttons on the dashboard, on the mixing board and everything. Yeah.
Well, you're an amazing host, and I have learned a lot from you over the years.
Well, you guys don't need any help. You are doing a great thing with Whiskey Wednesdays, and and whether you're drinking whiskey or not, there's going to be great music at 12 and 9 p.m. Central Time on WSM. So it's a great way to check that out. So, Andy says, I've been honored to be a guest on Whiskey Wednesday.
has.
All right.
Maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't know.
Maybe
Excellent.
both in Nashville and in London. I feel like
Yeah.
Andy's been a guest on both sides of the pond.
I think so. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Well, this next song we have queued up is The Truth Is, which has gotten a lot of airplay on my radio show over the years. Is there anything you want to say about it before we dig in?
This song was inspired by my first ever tarot card reading. I'd been playing the bass riff that kicks this song off for a long time, but didn't have any lyrics to it. That's not usually how I write, but it just was happening with this particular riff. And I had this tarot reading, and the song fell into place with that.
Excellent.
All right, here's The Truth Is from the Wild Ponies on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
That's the riff right there.
Oh, so good.
The truth is, sometimes I lie, and I always hate to say goodbye, even only for a little while. The truth is, I don't care who's right. Sometimes I pick fights when I should say I'm sorry. Sometimes I make a mess, sometimes a little more. Sometimes I make a fist and don't know what I'm fighting for. The truth is, I'm a damn good friend, and when I bet, I go all in. It doesn't matter what the odds are. The truth is, I trust the cards, and every day I read the stars. Maybe sometimes I should listen. Sometimes I make a mess, sometimes a little more. Sometimes I make a fist and don't know what I'm fighting for. The truth is, I like to hear a train moan. It reminds me that I'm not really alone. There's someone somewhere doing something. Sometimes I make a mess, sometimes a little more. Sometimes I make a fist and don't know what I'm fighting for. The truth is, I'm more broken than brave. There are things I still think about every day, like his footsteps in the hallway.
Yes, Wild Ponies with "The Truth Is" from their 2013 release.
Nice.
Things That Used to Shine, and lots of comments during that song about the 60s keyboards, real earworm, and it, it's a little unusual because it's not like it really just has the refrain. It doesn't have like a big anthemic chorus, so it's kind of yeah, but I feel like it's just it's that riff really. It's part of that chorus. I feel like
for me, it almost had like a 90s alternative rock vibe, like Kelly Deal or something, like something.
Jane's Addiction, man.
Yeah. Like I felt like I was, it really would be at home there as much as a folk festival, Lollapalooza folk festival, right in between. Really, really cool. Alan says Primal Groove, and I totally agree.
Yeah, for
Which
sure.
I remember, I think Telisha was playing keyboards on that.
I might. It was a
Definitely a Farfisa. I remember the machine.
I remember where it was set up in the
I do
studio
too.
and everything.
I can't remember if it was you or Ray. I know you played keyboards on some of the tracks.
I feel like Ray might have come up with the part and then I played it.
I know it was a Farfisa though.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about the songwriting. I know you wrote that one, Telisha, but do you guys, when you come up with the songs together, does one person write it and you work on the arrangements? Do you co-write? How does that work?
Everything ends up being together. That song was us together as well. I started it, and there's not a lot that we end up performing as Wild Ponies that doesn't have both of us in it. And
Telisha wrote the majority of that one.
Except the the final chord. I took that song. We do a thing here, have done a thing here in East Nashville for years called the East Nashville Song Salon, and a lot of these songs came through Song Salon. And
tell us a little bit about that. I'm curious. What is that? What is the Song Salon?
It was it started as such an amazing community. When we first moved to town, we kind of got it going with Amy Speece, and it was a Monday night deal. Every Monday night, from 7 to 7:30, you could show up and hang for a little bit of food. Somebody made a pot of pasta, whatever, and then at 7:30 we'd sit down and start working on songs. And the idea,
rip them apart.
Oh, cool.
The idea was that you come with something new that you're working on and that you want a little feedback. But this wasn't meant to be a co-writing situation. It was just meant to be feedback. And for years, that group, we all knew each other and trusted each other in a way that
It was cool.
I feel so fortunate to have been a part of that. And this particular song I brought to Song Salon 3 or 4 weeks in a row, or within 6 or 7 weeks. And one of the early times of the song, I brought it in, and Mary Gaucher was at Song Salon that night, and she was I played it live, and she was like, "That song's sexy as hell." Pretty good, Mary Gaucher, actually.
Yeah.
And but she's like, and then she paused for a second and said, "But you're not telling your truth." And she just made me do it. She was like, "You got to dig in. If you're going to call this song The Truth Is, you better tell your truth." And the last verse wasn't there until that, and I hadn't gotten to the core of the song, and that song for me is about being a survivor of sexual abuse, and it's about telling my truth and standing firm in that truth and being a survivor and walking that path and not being ashamed of that. And I had to get there to get to that song, and that happened on a trip back from Minnesota, actually. That last line Doug delivered in spoken word, and as soon as he said it, my entire body was taken over a tsunami of tears.
We had to pull over.
And get French fries just to have napkins.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's
napkins.
That's the power of music. I mean, sometimes I feel like the truth is kind of floating out there, and we're just like receptors for that. And it's so interesting that somebody would pick up on that at the Song Salon. And how special is it that you have a community like that where people can give you that kind of feedback. That's very
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
and we expected, you wanted that feedback. Like Telisha said, we trusted each other, and it's not that I don't need to go to a song salon or a song circle and sit around and play my songs and everybody go, oh wow, that's great, you're so good. Next. It was so cool that we had all these songwriters that we trusted, and we knew each other's bullshit. Like we knew when each other were, pulling punches, and we could call each other out on it in a cool way, in a way that we all trusted each other and agreed on, not in a hateful, not in a mean way, not in an intentionally, but in a way that, like, you know what, I think you're almost there. You really need to, like, I think you can do this if you just try this or that or the other, whatever. And that was so valuable when we first moved to town.
And what a powerful gift for Mary to say that, because not only did it create the great song that we all enjoyed and made it the song it is, but also, I mean, again, the journey of creating the song was transformational for you too.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I think it's easy to forget that, like, the process of writing or creating can be just as transformative as enjoying the final product. So
More so.
Yeah.
100%.
Way more important. Yeah.
And I think, like, when the truth comes out, like, it hits people different too. So my guess is that there's a lot of other people that had shared experiences that were touched by that because you were brave enough
Every
to
night.
be vulnerable.
I've heard so many songwriters that I really admire, Mary being one of them. Daryl Scott, I've heard say this. I've heard Lori McKenna talk about this. I've heard so many of those just magnificent songwriters talk about how the deeper you dig, the more the more personal you get with your lyrics and the experience that you're sharing, the more universal it is, because what you're getting to is that emotional moment, that truth, that core, and that's where that connection is with your audience and other creatives and
For sure. Well, Cheryl says thank you for sharing this, and yes, thank you so much for sharing that about the song, and also sharing all this music with us today on the Back Catalog Listening Party. We're gonna see how much more we can squeeze in before the hour is up. The next song we have queued up is Trigger. Is there anything you want to say about this before we pull it?
It's kind of interesting when we picked going to this record to be the back catalog piece that we wanted to listen to. We've actually just recently brought a lot of these songs back up, because last summer we got invited to participate in the Low Country Mental Health Conference in Charleston, South Carolina. And we were invited to talk about trauma and songwriting. And so we put together this.
They wanted us to come, like, talk about it for a while, and Telisha has a background in mental health, and she was a therapist for a while, and we're songwriters. So they were going to get Telisha to come talk for a little while, and then we're going to play a little show, Instead, we put together an interactive, like, multimedia thing with the full band, and we wove our songs through this hour and 15 minutes of story, kind of tracing your background and your history and therapy and music and art, and how those things kind of wove together in a really amazing, beautiful way.
And that piece that you just talked about, Ellen, the process of writing these songs is far more important than the product. I'm extraordinarily proud of this record. I love that it's a part of our history. I love that it's in our back catalog. I'm proud of things that used to shine. But it was the process of writing those songs. And also at the same time that I was recording this, I was also going through trauma treatment. And that started to show up physically in a change in my voice and a change in my presence through the trauma treatment. And so now to bring some of those songs back 2 records later, looking back on them as what they were in that time has been like another gift to be able to realize that I'm not where I was.
A more detached layer.
Yeah.
Not detached, but removed. No, I don't know. Yeah. How would you describe it?
Heal. Like
Healed.
I'm in a healed space looking at it now, which just feels
and so
very different.
So the truth is what happened, basically.
Right.
And trigger is what is the exact opposite end of the spectrum that didn't happen, that we also do not advocate.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
what
This
it-
is. Oh, go ahead. Did you want to say something else?
No.
No, that's it.
Okay. This is Trigger by the Wild Ponies on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, I swear the gun went off before I even pulled the trigger. The blood was on his face and hands, and then I saw him stagger. He took 2 steps to the right, and then he went down on his knees, and I was looking at his eyes. He was looking right past me. Old time shall not be forgotten, and there's no tree that won't fall someday. He stared right at that picture hanging right there on the wall. It was the picture of the 2 of us in front of Ruby Falls. He took me there in '93, though he didn't want to go. Was afraid of being underground down in a deep dark hole. Old time shall not be forgotten, tree that won't fall someday. He stared right at that picture till he didn't blink no more, and his soul had left his body, and his body found the floor. And the salt and pepper shakers that we got our wedding day set on the kitchen table up above him where he lay. Old times shall not be forgotten, there's no tree that won't fall someday. I just left him laying there right on my kitchen floor. His blood spilled on the tile that he laid 9 years before, and the blood that pooled around him may not wash away my sin, but I'll be damned if he's ever gonna touch my girl again. Old time shall not be forgotten, and there's no tree that won't fall someday. Old time shall not be forgotten, and there's no tree that won't fall someday. Old time shall not be forgotten, and there's no tree that won't fall someday.
Oh yeah, that was the Wild Ponies with Trigger from their 2013 release, Things That Used to Shine. And that ending, yes, I totally agree. Powerful tune, and that ending is so beautiful. I just love how the different instruments kind of weave in and out, and I hear Casey Dreesen again on that fiddle, so you put him to work. It sounds great. Really, really nice stuff. And I want to make sure before we go that we mention something else that you're doing. So we talked about your training to be motorcycle instructors.
We are.
Yep.
You have the radio show. You're doing music here and there where you can. But your big new news is that you are starting a food truck, and you have a Kickstarter which is about to wrap up. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your pandemic pivot.
Yeah. So
It's hard out here.
it's hard.
Hustling.
I don't know when we're gonna get to go play shows again, and it's that's what we do. That's who we are. We're musicians, and we play shows. And I love writing songs, and that's great. But we play shows. Like we play shows. And the internet is amazing. It's allowed us to play shows in front of people, and it's allowed us to kind of keep our chops up a little bit. But it's not being in the same room with other people playing shows. We miss that. And we've been cooking a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, us and our housemate Laura. And Laura has also been affected pretty hard. And who hasn't been affected pretty hard? She's a photographer. And so she hasn't had the same kind of gigs that she normally has either. So we got the idea to start a food truck, and we're doing it.
It's called Dreamers Food Truck, Pizza and Bowls for Creative Souls.
Nice.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. We have 6 days left on our Kickstarter. We have been fully funded, which is amazing. The response has been incredible, and we are so grateful.
But the truck broke down today on the side of the road, bringing the trailer back. I just want to point that out if anybody's considering. So,
yeah,
it's not like we're not going to need the money.
right. But,
you got to fuel that food truck. I mean,
True. And one of the things that we're most excited about, I mean, for all three of us, Doug and myself and Laura, community is central to all that we do. East Nashville Song Salon, the community of our friends and fans and other artists. And we also work hard to encourage everybody to be creative. We believe that everybody is a creative. It's not like this thing that only exists for some people who decide to do it for a living. It's present in every single one of you. And so along with our pizza and bowls, we're going to be delivering creative prompts to encourage people to be creative.
Like at the bottom of the bowl or something?
Well, that's a good idea. No, we're giving them out in multiple ways. Sometimes they're going to be on the truck. We're looking at ways to kind of give them out as we take your order and then as you're waiting for your food. And depending on how things work with COVID, we're gonna have more and more options, more ways to do that. But yeah, we're excited. We're kind of considering it a mobile community center, and
that's fantastic.
It's been great. And we're still using a lot of our pre-COVID lives. And the Kickstarter, we're the demos for the next record that we're gonna make called Rainbow Terrace for the place we live now.
And actually, we're featuring a package today is. So we co-wrote a song with David Olney, right? Just a couple of months before he passed away. And that song is going to be on our new record. It's called When Morning Comes. And the first line of the song is Dream a Dream. And so there's a package in the Kickstarter that is the demos of that song, handwritten lyrics of that song. And then Laura took a picture for a class that she was doing. She took a picture, like a visual interpretation of the song. And
wow.
It's this mixed medium interpretation of the song. And that's a package in the Kickstarter.
That's lovely.
That's cool.
I just hope I have funded the Kickstarter and I'm super excited about it. Yeah. I'm hoping one day the food truck will, if we can get it working so it can travel a little further, come all the way up to
come
Minnesota.
to South Minneapolis. And I will
love that. She's running again right now. We sprayed diesel fuel everywhere. It's kind of a mess. I still smell like
diesel. It's fine.
Well, when we were prepping, go ahead.
She's running again. We're gonna be fine. Before we come that far, I think we're gonna want.
Yeah.
It's a 1995. The truck that we're pulling the trailer with is a 1995 Ford F-250, 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel. Yes, I'm wearing a NASCAR hat and talking about diesel.
Before we go, I definitely want to get this this ties in with this idea of community, and anybody who's listened to this show before knows that for Ellen and I, that also is at the heart of why we're doing this. We believe that this is really what's going to get us through this, being together and art and that also that understanding that there is no divide between the stage and the audience. We're all artists, we're all creative. And there was something that you shared with us about these pennants for your Kickstarter that kind of brings that that idea together. Can you talk a little bit about that? I'd love to hear more.
So those particular pennants are from the very first Kickstarter we ever did, which funded the record Things That Used to Shine.
Oh.
And so about midway through the Kickstarter, we realized that it was going to end eventually and soon. And so we started we wanted a physical representation. So those triangles each represent a backer, and it has a backer's name on the back side of it. And we hung those pennants up while we recorded the record.
Oh, yeah, we did, yeah.
And at shows, and now they're hanging on a wall going down into our office every day.
Yeah.
And on the food truck, everybody that contributes to the Kickstarter for even $1, you're going to get your name on the food
truck. Yeah, we're calling our
that's great.
Our silver liners.
Nice.
The silver lining. And so we've come up with what I think is a really cool way to display everybody's name on the truck.
That's such a great idea. So, folks, we put the link in the comments. You can back it. There's still time. It looked like there was 6 days left, right, on the campaign. Definitely pitch in. This is what a great idea, and it's nourishment for more than just our stomachs.
Yeah. And also, we want to mention that in addition to supporting the Kickstarter, of course, we put up the tip jar for Doug and Telisha. We also have the link to buy this album and all of their great catalog and merch. They have some really cool onesies, I know, because my son has one. And also, as Chris pointed out, it's available on vinyl. So, I will say things have improved on the back catalog listening party now that YouTube it's now in stereo. So we're excited about that, but it's still not the same as what you're going to hear if you get it on CD or vinyl. So definitely check it out if you're digging the songs as much as we are. So thank you so much for joining us. And
thank you so much.
So great to see you.
What a fun show. I love this concept.
So cool.
This has just been a blast.
Well, what else are we going to do? We're going to listen to our old records.
Exactly. We were going to listen to the music anyway, so we might as well bring more people in.
And I want to thank our Patreon supporters. We have a Patreon, especially as we expand to more platforms, and we're trying to get a real website up so folks we can archive it there. So thanks to Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, and Peggy for supporting the show. And if you want to join, you can do that at the link there. And when you do, there's lots of cool things, including special monthly after parties. And we're going to have a holiday party as well online. And our next after party, I think, is going to be in a couple weeks with
Oh, well, you might as well tell them.
Pertnear Sandstone, an amazing string band, Minnesota's own, and it's going to be a good one. So, but you only can get in on that if you become a Patreon supporter. So, but next week we have Chris Matthews joining us, so we're really excited about that because big fan. Yeah, you guys know Chris.
And a huge thank you to the Wild Ponies. You guys, thank you so much. This is wonderful to spend the hour with you, and thanks for sharing your art and your stories, and I'm just filled up. As my daughter's kindergarten teacher would say, my bucket has been filled. Thank you so much.
Around that. You don't spill anything.
Hold on to your bucket.
Well, thank you so much. So great to see you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
And until next Friday, we'll see you at the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Cheers.